Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Passages, A Voyage from War to Peace by P.K. Edgewater. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue. Verdant water gave way to richer blue as his father skippered the trawler Celine at a comfortable pace beyond the shoals towards San Giorgio's. Late May sun had soothed the sea swell southeast of Salamina into a relaxed submission. Sound of the engine tappets set the mind to a steady rhythm as the craft motored smoothly forward, all tidy now after the morning's catch and delivery. Now the same working craft was a pleasure boat of sorts and seemed to behave with that demeanor. Miko! Costas's resonant voice was elevated now, the third shout breaking Miko's hypnotic state from the tranquil patter. Son, finish the lines and fenders and come steer with me. I want to tell you about what we may see today at the island, and maybe we talk about some other things too. There was no resistance from Miko, warming into the solar sparkle of an ancient and fabled Aegean sea. Costas went along with the son's silent boasting. Miko deserved to be proud in his father's eyes. Costas rewarded Miko with days like this for getting good grades in school. A bonding adventure, just the two of them it was in the making. Never one to think of the boat and the sea as just work. Costas contrived the dual-purpose outings to claim Miko's attention. Somewhere along the day's journey, a seed or two of wisdom would pass onto ground made more fertile by self-esteem. Yes, Papa, Miko piped up, as if a sailor responding to orders. Costas looked twice. The adolescent's vocal resonance had deepened since but yesterday, save for the occasional airy fluting in the evolving register of a late-blooming 13-year-old. Once in the cabin, Miko donned his replica captain's cap, a token to Miko of Costas's pride for last year's creative writing award as he transitioned to middle grades. That it was becoming already too small for Miko's bushy head was mitigated by the ease with which Miko could now see the entire horizon as he stood at the helm, no longer needing Papa's lap. Stowing the trawler's heavy kit had become notably fleeter as his shirts filled out. Why are we headed towards San Giorgio's, Papa? Miko chided. Are we looking for the mermaids you once told me are the only beings that live there now? Costas's eye rolling could not mask the smirk across his mouth, acknowledging his own mischievous capacity for tall tales. There has been a small craft alert during the past 3 days aimed at near sunset today, Costas began. Our Royal Hellenic Navy will be out from Salamis Island for target practice on some old tub just on the west side of San Giorgio's. We'll have to keep our distance, but I thought it might be fun for you to watch, Costas explained. Although the identifying markings on the old ship were removed or painted over, the alert mentioned that the ship to be sunk was named Nirchos. Indeed, this was something new. You mean they are going to blow up another ship? Miko wanted to clarify. Yes, something that we don't often get to see, Costas affirmed with relish at the opportunity. He peered at Miko apprehensively out of the corner of his eye. Miko returned the identical cornered squint, conveying suspicion he was perhaps Papa's captive excuse for the voyeurism on the agenda that afternoon. Communication was lost on either. Costas had woven into their bond never to let Miko feel the less manly for having his mother's leanings toward pacifism in a progressive world. Miko reached out to his father's shoulder and gave a gentle push sideways. Their smiles for each other in unison settled any differences they may have had over the plan. Okay, Papa. Miko gently nodded his head. He was nearing eye-to-eye level with his father and had grown confident in being more direct. What else is on your mind? Are you planning to ship me off to the Navy when I'm 16? Miko, Costas responded, squinting into the distant horizon, deftly signaling the shift to his wise mode. Your mother and I are not blind, he paused. You are not. We are not sure where it came from, but you do well in school. Your teachers say that you are exceptional among your classmates. They don't come right out and say it, but I know they think you should go further than most of the children. You and I have never really talked about this. Most fishermen around here want, well, really expect their sons and daughters to help them and take over the business as they grow up. I must tell you something now, so you start thinking about it. Costas's eyes came back from the distance and focused on his son's silent face, the fixed gaze governing a gravid pause. Miko flushed, caught off guard by his father's sudden pivot to earnestness. I am not a proud man, but I am a happy man. All I have wanted since I was your age was to captain a boat like this, be my own boss, and catch a lot of fish. But you, well, you may be meant for other things. I am telling you, Costas's eyes searched both sea and sky for words. I'm telling you to do what you want, to go where your heart takes you. Your mother and I will be fine. If you want to fish, that is fine too. We have some time, but start thinking about it. The wisdom had been passed. slipped like a fresh sardine into the banter of the afternoon. Miko kept a silent stare towards San Giorgio's. The engine patter and the sea gushing by the bow could sustain such a contemplative moment, particularly on a placid Mediterranean afternoon. Miko held back, embarrassed that he himself had not pondered this important stuff yet. How bright could he be then, after all? He mused silently. Costa slept it there. An answer was not needed. The two locked eyes for a moment, each scrutinizing the other's face. Miko felt his father's exquisite gentleness, the love palpable in his presence. That quickly, their journey as father and son had transitioned to a new dimension. Childhood was nearing an honorable demise. How much do you remember about your grandpa Demetrius on Mama's side? Costas asked Miko with a slight head turn, yet keeping eyes on the island ahead. He passed away when you were about 5, I think. Remember? He lived with us for a while when you were little. The reach for memories drew down the corners of Miko's mouth, eyes squinting pensively. An image formed, surrounded by an aura of tension bordering on fear and uneasiness embedded during the 5-year-old's innocence. Sorry, Papa, I don't remember much, but what I do remember is not really good. Grandpa Demetrius was fat, and his face was stubbly all the time. Seemed like just a grumpy old man. Seemed to sit around talking to the same old guys most days in front of the bistro down the hill or on the docks. Never really got to know him. I don't think he liked me. I seem to be a bother to him and his friends. I don't think about him much, but when I do, it puzzles me. Well, Costas paused a moment. I understand. Yes, he was, as you say, grumpy to everybody but his old Navy buddies from the big war. That was when Greece had a real Navy, but it was small and got pounded by the Italians and Germans until we allied with the British Navy. It's a miracle that your grandpa Demetrius or any of those old guys survived. They came back from the war with wounds to their bodies, their minds, and their souls, and they hung together like they had a bond of mixed pride and shame. Demetrius never talked about the war around your mama and me, but then he worked hard on the boats until he could no more. I can say that. It's not that he did not like you, Miko. He just had a short temper and would shout at anyone who didn't rise to his expectations. Mama and I got some of that too. When we put him in the ground, even Mama cried that there was something about him she would never know or understand. I think we must not judge him too harshly. It is a mystery to the rest of us what war can do to a man, not just to his spirit, but to his flesh. Not just to his flesh, but to his spirit. Costas dropped anchor accurately at the 2 nautical mile perimeter from the naval range using his new and highly cherished global positioning kit, pinnacle of cutting-edge wonders in a common man's navigation in 2006. Mouth open, he squinted through vintage binoculars. Yes, as he passed them to Miko. Focus best you can, one thumb to the east side of San Giorgio's. You should make out the target vessel, the bright white one with no markings. Do you see? You can't miss it. The sun is making it glare like a mirror. I spotted it before you did, Papa. Miko made clear, already feigning binoculars by holding his hands curled in tubes over his eyes. He reached for the glasses and searched the horizon. Huh! The sighting evoked a gasp of surprise. The modest magnification bringing in more visual content than expected. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it's beautiful, Papa. It's a beautiful ship. She's beautiful, Miko, not it. But she, like our Celine, Papa instructed. Worthy vessels are addressed as elegant ladies with respect for how they take care of us. You know that, but tell me what you see. I don't know, Papa. The prize-winning novice scribe searched for words. She's tall and proud. She has a sleek bow and stern that demand respect like she could fly into battle. Miko giggled and shrugged his shoulders guardedly up, not letting go of just yet of the she thing. The bridge well is like a big bosom and a tight sweater and a choker necklace. Papa smiled and shook his head. No doubt where this could go if you let it. Now, look again. You see the Navy ships lining up. Yes, Papa, there are 3 of them. They are all different sizes. One has big cannons on each side. Miko paused as he scanned for detail. The next has smaller guns, but still pretty big up in front. The last, I can barely make it out. It's very low, almost flat. You think it could be a submarine on the surface? They're all heading away from us, curving away in a row, getting nearer to where the white one is. It's just sitting there. When do you think they will start firing, Papa? Before an answer came, a series of flashes issued from the bank of guns on the largest craft, followed by a muffled boom that rattled the trawler's wheelhouse windows. The glistening white target rocked slowly. Black smoke quickly emerged skyward in an expanding column. Papa! Miko's voice cracked loudly. Are you sure there are no people on that ship? Are you sure? Miko let his arms rest at his side, trembling, unable to steady the binoculars for viewing. Of course, Miko, this is an exercise, target practice, not a real battle. The old vessel is empty and defenseless. This is for training the sailors, and it has always been one way to dispense with warships at the end of their lives. It is okay, Costas assured. Middling craft and then the submarine took their turns, both provoking columns of red flame from the midship and the bridge of the target. Costas recoiled slightly, noting the silence that had fallen over Miko as the impacts piled on. Miko leaned closer to the side window, unable yet to fully hide his face, tightened and distorted from his father. Eyes and nostrils moistened until the overflow rolled unchecked. Papa draped a comforting arm around Miko's shoulders. Miko's reaction sought solace that could come no more gently than from this gesture, done in the father's man-to-man way, giving space for sorrow without shame. Ushering his own deep sigh, Costas felt the rigidity in Miko's posture relenting, submitting to the natural order of things, in solidarity with the fated destroyer being fired upon. Listing away from the island, the Nearchos bowed slowly forward to its spellbound audience, gushing air to the surface from its midsection, belching flame and black cloud from its wounds, then rose again. She paused as if balance had been recovered, but enough strength for one more moment to meet the eyes of the father and son, and laid resolutely to the stern and slid aft with the grace of a natural inhabitant of the depths, the sea closing wistfully around where she had fated her executioners. As the assailing vessels began an orderly withdrawal from view, Costas cranked the engine to idle. Show is over. Let's start heading back. Mama will expect us for dinner, and we'll be up in a tizzy if it is dark by then. Bring up the bow anchor. I will get the stern. Costas commanded. Step lively, lad. We can talk about the sinking on the ride back if you like. Your mother will want to hear too. Miko's face dried quickly, leaning into the action in the late afternoon breeze. He was his father's son. His focus on freeing the lines and stowing them along with his papa pushed other thoughts aside. In due course, the tasks broke the tightness in his throat. Writing had taught him to let emotions marinate a while before collecting the right words. Perhaps it was merely the physical act of applying pen to paper, or more recently pecking the words onto the computers at school that would calm him, and allow for an organized flow of ideas to phrases in print. It didn't matter. He welcomed the nudge from Papa to emerge from the present unexpected funk. The ride home always seemed to take forever. Costas entertained himself with a baritone shanty about a pelican and an albatross that made no sense, a tune Miko hated and knew would probably play in his head all night. To shut Papa up would require conversation, loud and exhausting over the drone of the engine. Miko loved it all. In moments like this, he could imagine no better life. He wasn't in a hurry to grow up. So, Papa, what did you think? Miko took the initiative, hoping that Papa's answers would not be too deep nearing the day's end. Tower, my gosh, we got shaken from 2 miles away from those cannons. No wonder they can drive a shell through several layers of steel. Incredible to see that firsthand, Costas marveled. How about you? Miko gazed at the eastward horizon, broken with the contours of distant islets, avoiding the evening sun's glare at starboard. He moved closer to Costas ostensibly, as to not have to shout over the engine noise. I can't get over it, Papa, Miko let off. The ship they sunk, the Nearchos, you called it. She looks so proud and shining even in her old age. We just saw her go down. We know nothing about her life, where she has been. Who was her captain and her sailors? Wouldn't that be interesting, Papa? Miko's imagining supplied a never-ending source of entertainment for Costas. It's what seems so powerful to me, Papa. What was life like for the Nearchos and for those who sailed her? I don't know how much information you can find on an old ship like that. Why don't you make up something about it for school sometime? Costas said, hoping to harness Miko's energy. Halfway up the winding cobblestone road, the harbor's fishy smells at Vathi village gave way to the aromas of souvlaki and sizzling shrimp, intensifying as they neared home. On their arrival, Mama's face was frozen in the sardonic smile she applied toward seagoing embellishment, but particularly in the telling of foolishness. Yet her men were home and happy, at last, and the wine was helping. Sleep came easily after a day of sun and sea motion, capped off by a bellyful of Mama's culinary inducements. Miko slumbered motionlessly before ascending through sleep's languid shores, where the mind's odd perceptions pass unquestioned. Bringing to wakefulness the dream developed therein, Miko wanted to save this one. Going straight to his desk, he scribbled furiously lest the images fade too fast, until his bladder could wait no more. He was more alert with the relief, but the dream memory was already clouded. Back at the writing table, he picked up the paragraphs he had written to see if any of it made sense. He remembered. Between the level where people sleepwalk and where they are still, he had relived the day before, with one stark exception. The questions that rushed through his mind as he had watched the naval artillery exercise had been rejoined in his dream state with the essence of the near-chose herself. Gleaming again in the fugue, her conversation was natural and at ease. Miko put the day's rhetorical inquiry directly to the steely being before him and pushed to know of her essence and her story. Her enigma unfolded as she spoke to him. Stories are of the past, and the past exists only in thought. What about your past? Memories don't matter. What matters are what we can draw from the universe of knowledge. What do you mean? Humans are most curious. You contribute so much to the universe of knowledge, yet you are able to draw so little from it. I feel like my mind is going all the time. But you fear change. My form does not resist change. I have no remorse and no claim to permanency. I will serve as target practice today, as noble a purpose as any other. Whatever I become hereafter will still hold the essence of where I have been and of those whom I have carried. Take what is useful to you of my story, but bear with me no sympathy. But who can tell me your story? Ah, men gave me a name, as if to make me human, even a gender as if I am their mother or their lover. This I get for keeping them from being consumed by the sea, as they surely would have been. Men fashioned me to kill other men. I take no blame. The killed men had stories too, almost certainly the same ones. Are there still men who could speak for you? Watch the gunboats align, testing the accuracy of the cannons and torpedoes, the timing and coordination to send me to the tranquility beneath the waves. No, there is a man who rode my back, whose story tells as much as can come from words. But how would he tell of you beyond using words? Be conscious, be patient. There's no journey of fantasy, but one as real as any notion you have held in your hand, your mind. Its source untraceable, yet no less profound. Mama, Miko opened softly, approaching her from behind as she hummed. Obliviously dicing the day's vegetables with her sharpest paring knife. There were times when it was fun to startle her, when she was armed with was not one of them. I wrote something this morning just after waking up, and I don't even understand it. Will you read it and tell me what you think? Miko stood still, reading his scrawl again to himself, noting now that what had seemed a meaningful conversation in his dream was barely intelligible. His mother concluded the staccato chopping and surveyed the countertop for the next task at hand before slowly turning her countenance and attention to her urging man-child. Let's see what you got. Sophia wiped her hands on her apron, taking a seat at the kitchen table. Her feedback meant everything to Miko. She had been the inspiration for his interest in writing and had nurtured his creativity, having briefly been a schoolteacher before marrying Costas. She left that calling in the city to join the fishermen in Basti. Awake and writing this early on a Saturday? Mama, it seems so real. Just as I was waking up, I dreamed I was talking with the ship Papa and I saw yesterday. Isn't that so strange? It's funny. I remembered a lot just after waking up and started writing while it still made sense, but then it all seemed crazy. Read what I wrote. What do you think it means? Sophia took a seat at the kitchen table, sipped from her cup of tea gone tepid, gathering her own attention for the cognitive task. After a quick review, she leaned back in her chair, extending the page further from her face, and slowed her breathing for the reread. Finally, lifting her penetrating eyes, she laid the paper flat and clasped her hands over it. Miko, this is puzzling, she began, but I don't think it is nonsense. The ship was talking to you in your dream? Oh, my dear, it seems like that your mind was trying to make some sense out of what you saw yesterday and place it into some larger picture. Okay, Mama, but what about the part about one man's story? What man? Yes, Miko, I see that, and I have no idea, she said fairly. You know, when I read something that I don't understand but want to understand, I put it somewhere and come back to it later. Sometimes much later, when something else reminds me of it, I come back and read it again. Then I may be able to put the meaning together. Why don't you put this somewhere for now? Still standing, Miko nodded, but put no motion on acting on her advice. Taking notice, Mama leaned silently again into the back of the slatted, sturdy wooden chair, drawing the still clenched hands into her lap. She crossed her legs authoritatively at the knees, signaling her patience for what would come next and wordlessly welcoming Miko to sit and continue. Miko indeed kept a notebook for such things he had written and anything important on paper on the shelf over his window. He had never had an occasion yet to question Mama's wisdom, but for now there would be one more query. Mama, yesterday when we were out there, Papa asked me if I remembered much about your papa, Grandpa Demetrius. Miko began slowly, staring without focus at the paper on the table before them. Well, see, I'm sure you loved Grandpa, but, well, I remember him as kind of mean. I'm sorry, I was a little kid. What do I know? Sophia nodded silently, giving permission. In her teaching days, she had honed ample skill in drawing out others' words, but by not blocking them with hers. I first thought about this puzzle from my dream is that the man may have been Grandpa Demetrius, Miko went on. So that now, well, I'll never know what message or what this riddle means or about the Nearchos since he is gone a long time ago. Sophia remained silent, yet her eyes opened wider and more penetrating on Miko's face, her lips gently parted. Slowly, her palms rose to her cheeks as if on their own command, her fingers then sweeping gently to conceal her mouth and chin, though through one continuous motion. Miko shifted in his chair. Miko? Sophia paused. Doing the math in my head, the ship that was sunk yesterday was old. Well, not old enough to be anything Grandpa was on in that big war. Miko squinted his eyes, with eyes and lips, pensively nodding at Ford. Sophia drew and held a deep breath before speaking. Only rarely had Miko or Costas ever found her at a loss for words. Miko appreciated that Mama would be straight and treat him as intelligent, not in a pandering way. But as with Papa the day before, he felt the soft sand under their relationship shift to a new footing. I know my father, your grandpa, loved me, even though he was grumpy. I always thought he didn't want to be mean, but he had little patience. There was a part of him I wanted to know better and never got the chance. My own papa, Sophia held her palms up in disillusionment. And he seemed to be the one person that I could not get to talk to me. My mama died just before you were born. She used to say to me that Grandpa came home from the war changed and tense. Even as a small child, I could sense that some of the old joy between them had left and was not coming back. Part of him was the same, but part of him was a stranger, less connected to us than his dark memories. From conversations growing up, I had learned that Grandpa, my papa, was on a ship during the war. He never really said much about it. My mama knew his pals got that part of him that she wasn't given. She made me promise before she died that even with his temper, I must look after him in his old age. Must admit, your father had more patience with Grandpa than I did. Sophia hesitated, her eyes welling just noticeably. Miko, just remember that your grandfather, Demetrius, did the best he could, and he loved you in his own way. Miko sat speechless as Sophia blotted the moist corners of her eyes with her apron. Her perfunctory words seemed to give her solace in saying, as though they had long been held back for the right time. She rose slowly and picked up pace, as there may be more solace gained from busying herself anew with kitchen tasks. Anyway, Miko, Sophia deflected, her soft tone and composure restored. Dreams are crazy, and most don't mean a thing, but you're writing away. If it is meant to be, you will come back to it. And if you ever discover any truths about such things before I'm gone, maybe you can help me understand. Patting her already dry hands on the apron, she turned back to Miko with her trademark inverted, skeptical smile. And I'm not going anywhere for a very long time.